I began this drawing with a selection of different man-made and natural objects, and the purpose was to really explore using different media, drawing media, and trying to convey something of the surface quality and the texture and the weight of each object, and then overlaying that slightly with one of my other objects and using a different material. And so we start to see how those different materials work next to each other and how they start to interact as well. So I'd begun with charcoal and pastel pencil, and then switched to a brush pen and a wash for the little bit of ribbon. For this little pot plant root, I used some watercolour pencil and was trying to convey something of the uneven, scratchy kind of line of the roots. And by this point, the drawing had started to become a little bit more interesting as the materials were starting to interact with each other and overlay. And there was a bit of water on the paper, so that some of them were kind of, bleeding into each other, that kind of thing. And then for this very hard glass marble, I used a wash with a watercolour pencil and was then started to create some really nice effects around the middle area where everything had really begun to overlap with each other. And then I decided to just keep going. So in the interests of experimentation, I just put some wax on, some ink that I had, some pastels, and I definitely lost control over parts of the drawing, especially because some of the paper was wet and that was affecting what was going down. The whole middle section I wasn't happy with at all. But I wasn't worried about spoiling it. Often people talk about I didn't want to carry on because I didn't want to spoil it, but I just wasn't that bothered. I thought I'll just keep going. And there were some really nice things which I genuinely liked at the end of the drawing. After I finished making the film, I did go back and add some ink to the middle section, but I think it had just become too confused. But there were other aspects to the drawing that I did really appreciate. I liked the fact I'd used colour all over. I thought the thin washes of pink colour with the green, which was in a dry media and so had created a texture, they were quite interesting. And there were some really nice things that happened on the shell with accidental mark making that looked quite organic and had created some really nice textures. So this drawing was very much about the process, getting lost in the materials and not being too focused on the outcome, but being prepared to experiment.